My name is Mark Gildersleeve. I am the service technician for UT Northeast, and we are the local Fulton rep. And I'm here to talk about our Fulton Endura Plus condenser boilers today. We have 6 on this site, set up as a lead line plant. And first thing you'll notice when you walk up to this is a really nice, sleek-looking boiler. It's got a really wonderful touch screen here. All right, you're going to notice if you walk up to this and it hasn't been touched in a while, you're going to see an idle screen or a screensaver. None of the boilers are running at this point, but if it was running, on this little tachometer right here, you can see whatever percentage you were running at that boiler would show up on here. On this left-hand side here, we would see our oxygen percentage in the exhaust, and on the right-hand side, we would see our flame signal. All right. Right underneath that is our on and off button for each individual boiler. That'll take it out of the rotation, or it'll put it back in depending on if it's pressed in. If it's pressed out, the light's going to be off. It's going to be dark. We'll know it's off. Once you touch the screen, you're going to come into the boiler status screen. That screen is going to give you the position of that boiler. In this case, this one is lag 5. All right, so we've got 5 other boilers before this one. It's going to give us our status is standby right now. It'll also show us our flame signal, our rate at which we're firing. It's going to give us our VFD status. It's also on the right-hand side here. It's going to give us our individual boiler inlet and outlet temperatures. We're going to see our exhaust temperature, our combustion air temperature. We'll see that boiler's delta T, and we're going to see the system supply temperature. These are all very good for information. The only other screen that I really think is very important here is if this boiler ever does go into alarm, first of all, you'll see a red exclamation point and a triangle and box in the middle of the screen. Once you touch it, this green light right here is going to be red. I would go in and push back, hit this button and safety device status, and that shows all your safeties on this boiler. Right? It's going to let you know which one is out. You don't have any guesswork involved with it. Once this situation has been corrected and you're all green over here, you can go ahead and we can go to this screen, and if you had an alarm, you can hit the reset alarm button right here, which is grayed out right now, and you would clear that alarm and you'd be ready to go. The boiler would go back into rotation. All right, so I'll go back here. I will go back to this main status screen. So we do have one physical reset safety on these boilers inside this panel here. We have a high limit aquastat button. All right, so this will put the boiler out in high limit. Your boiler is going to lock out. You can hit that button on the screen as many times as you want, but if you don't physically depress this little red button on the face of that Honeywell aquastat, you're not going to get your boiler to run. So that is our only physical reset on here. Our air pressure safety, our filter switch safety, our high gas and our low gas safeties, they're all automatic resets. Okay, we also have a stack pressure safety in the back there that's also automatic reset. So this is the only spot you're going to be touching right here. If you ever have, maybe you lose a pump, right? Or your isolation valve stopped working, or the power supply to the isolation valve isn't working. Once that's corrected, that's what we're hitting, okay? Because I can guarantee that's going to cause a high limit, and that's where it's at.
Hold on, let me get something from
So that includes everything at the face of the boiler here. Do you have any questions up here while we're up here, anybody?
Yeah, VFD status.
Sure.
So there's an internal VFD?
There is.
And what does that control?
That controls our combustion blower.
Oh, combustion blower.
That's all.
Leon,
Yep.
take some.
So that just shows what percentage, what RPM, what frequency, what hertz, what amps are coming through that.
Okay.
Gives you all the information, boom, right down there on that left-hand side. We don't require like flow through these boilers. We don't have a flow switch, okay? So this boiler in a no flow condition is not going to go off on flow. It's going to go off on a, well, it'll call it a low flow alarm, but what it's seeing is the inlet and outlet temperatures, and it's looking at the firing rate, and if that spread is too much right there, that delta T is too high, it's going to go into a warning. If it doesn't correct that warning in a certain amount of time, it's going to lock out, right? If it does correct, it can do that 2 more times, I think, in 30 minutes. And if that happens for the 3rd time, it'll just automatically lock out. Right? So it doesn't, the heat exchangers in this are so rugged and overbuilt that, well, I'm not really worried about flow. I'm not worried about it going, you know, and popping or anything. But it's just to make sure that our function on the boiler is proper.
Yeah. Assume it needs to see flow before it start up?
No,
Really?
no, it could start up without flow. Like I said, we're not concerned with it. It'll just go off on high limit. It'll just take, you know, a matter of a couple minutes max. It'll just put your high limit, you're out. So,
And is that a locking safety that you have to reset? Or will
yeah,
reset once it
it'll
cools
physically
down?
lock the boiler out. It'll go into a high limit alarm or a low flow alarm, is
Yep.
what it would be called on there. And I'm not sure if there's
I'm
any.
just thinking if there's a pump failure, this is going to fire, it's going to go out on over temp, and you would have to physically reset it to
Right.
once you got the pump running.
Correct. You'd have to physically reset. Now on this alarm screen, which I touched this to get into it, you can touch any of these numbers here. You're going to log 0 to I think 99. Right, so you can log 100 of the most recent alarms. You can view alarm info, and it gives you when it happened, you know, a time, the date stamp, gives you what needs to be corrected for it to be put back into operation, and it'll give you error diagnostic codes, which are for the flame programmer himself. All right, and that, again, that's all stored. 100 alarms for each of these boilers. It's a lot of information for us, right? That's more than most flame programmers themselves. That's about 4 times what they would normally store within themselves. So it's a good bit of information. There's also, if we go back to the safety device status screen, if we wanted to test the low water on the boiler, there's a simulation on here, and you'll go in. I'm gonna hit OK. It's gonna fail us out on low water, right? I can reset the low water.
How much do you think you need more?
And we're all cleared out. But it tells us what happened. Right, so I did that. It says it stopped the boiler because the low water relay reported a low water condition. Right, so again, all these things very helpful. Give you a lot of information.
Go ahead.
The only other real things I've got to show are in the back right now, other than we do have, when I opened this up, you probably all saw there was a big old air filter in there. That should get changed out 1 to 2 times a year. All right, this thing's not airtight, but that's where our combustion air is going into our blower, right? Getting mixed with the natural gas and all. Especially after construction, it's always good to change those out. Inside the door also, you know, while I'm here, we do have a part kit, an annual preventative maintenance kit part number on here. What you would do is you go to UEP Northeast, you give us a call, you would email us, you go to our website, right? And you're gonna give us, we need 6, 4-50, 315, 600s. And that includes your igniter O-ring, your burner gaskets, your air filter, O2 sensor, and I believe it also includes the igniter also. So all these things are included in that. This needs to get preventative maintenance, that annual maintenance once a year. It has to be done by somebody that's been trained by Fulton. Okay. Can't stress that enough. You got to keep up on the maintenance on these. So if we do go to the back here, it might be best we go between them. I'm looking right now. They've got a lot of pipe work in there. Okay, I'm gonna have to squeeze in this way.
Small gas.
All right, so off the back of the boilers, these are condensing boilers, right? And as long as they're operating properly at the right temperatures, you're gonna get condensate pouring out of these boilers. There's a connection off the back of each of these boilers, right off the bottom of the stack, right? And it's going to pour condensate out that hose, almost like a garden hose, right? It's just gonna pour out, and that's what we wanna see. But that's gonna be coming out right down here, And we have these all tied into a manifold that goes over to this condensate trap back here, this aluminum trap. And if I can get in here correctly, there's a float inside there, and there should be water line uninterrupted to this. I would say it's a good idea to check this float every once in a while, make sure we're not gummed up, and that when you do press down on it, you're getting water through there. The reason we want that water in here is because all these boilers, each set of 2, right, is tapped into this header here. We want that header flooded so that we're not passing flue gas from one boiler to another when one is off and the other's running, right? Because we don't want to put excessive wear and tear on parts on a boiler that's not running. So we make sure that that is flooded. Inside this tank right here is our condensate neutralization tank. We have 6 bags of magnesium oxide in here. Those bags are not going to they're not going to break down, okay? So you may see those bags are still there, but they have to get changed out at least once a year. So they say that the 6 bags of magnesium oxide is enough to treat 12 million BTUs for 1 year. Each of these boilers is 6 million BTUs, right? We've got 2 running in each one of these tanks. Those bags are really easy to change out instead of getting, marble chips or limestone chips, whatever people are using in these and other sites. You just take these 6 bags, you throw them out, maybe hit the inside of that with a little nylon brush, right? Put some water back through it, put new bags in, and we're good. All right. So that needs to be done.
Is the tank for one boiler, or?
It's for 2 boilers. So these 2 are headed together, the next 2 are headed together, and the other set's headed together. So there's 3 here. This is just my one with the best lighting.
Gotcha.
So, any questions about that? Any of that? No? Okay. All right. Well, we're good.
All right. Thank you.
Pleasure.